All right, we're looking here at the hypotenuse. How do I tell which side is the hypotenuse? It's very simple. First of all, it is the side directly across from the right angle. Secondly, it is always the longest side. Notice that about it, okay? So there's my hypotenuse. Here's my right angle. It's directly across from it, and it is the longest side, all right? So you need to understand that today, class. Legs, right angle, and the hypotenuse. Now, look above here. Someone, the Greek mathematician named Pythagoras, a long time ago, figured out that I can find out the length of the hypotenuse if I know the length of the legs. Or vice versa. I can figure out one of the legs if I know what the hypotenuse and the other leg is. I can do that by using this formula up here, this rule. C squared equals A squared plus B squared. Now class, that's why it's very important that you understand the legs are A and B. The hypotenuse is C. You can't put those things in different places. It will cause us a problem here, okay? So all we're going to do is substitute and solve at this point. So look at the first example with me, and we're going to fill in. I want to leave that alone. I'm going to draw another right triangle over here real quick.
Here's what I found.
I'll draw this right triangle so that we can fill in the measurements as they tell us here, okay? So the legs are given. We don't know the hypotenuse. So in this problem, we're going to find the hypotenuse. So the leg A is 4, it says, and the length of leg B is 3. And we're going to find C. We don't know what C is, okay? So hopefully everybody's with me so far. All we're going to do now is we're going to take the information we've been given and we're going to substitute it into this equation and we're going to solve. All right? So C squared equals A squared. So that would be 4 squared plus B squared. Okay? So notice, class, so far, all that I have done is substitute in the values of the legs in the place of A and B. Now I'm going to solve. As always, I'm going to simplify what I can in my equation. Can I do anything with C squared? No, not yet. We're not going to worry about that. But can I solve this side? Do I know how to square 4? Yes. Do I know how to square 3? Yes. Order of operations tells me to do that first. 4 squared is 16. 3 squared is 9. Okay? So now I can add. 16 plus 9 is 25. C squared equals 25. Now, I still have one more step, and this is what you need to watch. Very simple. Always, when dealing with Pythagorean rule, to finally solve, I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Okay, now watch this. I take the square root of C squared. What times C gives me C squared? And the answer is C times C. So the square root of C squared is always going to be C. Then whatever I do to one side, I must do to the other. The square root of 25 is 5. My answer is 5. My hypotenuse is 5. Now notice the relationship, and this is a normal relationship of 3, 4, and 5 being the lengths. The hypotenuse being the longer side. Now, class, the only thing I'll alert you to, and we'll probably have one like it, yeah, the next one. If it's not a perfect square, you may not know the square root. All right? So what you do then is you look it up in the back of your book on the chart, and that's what the instructions are going to tell you to do. If it is an odd square root that's not a perfect square, you'll look it up and you'll write that down for your answer. All right, let's do the other example problem here. Okay, so I'm going to erase all this, and I'm going to erase my values. Okay, let's see this time. I think we're finding the hypotenuse. Now, this right triangle is turned the other way. Doesn't make any difference. I'm not going to draw another one. Doing the same thing no matter which way that triangle is turned. All right, so what are the lengths of the legs? It says that A is 6 and B is 7, and we're going to find the hypotenuse C. So I'm going to plug these in. C squared equals 6 squared plus 7 squared. So C squared equals 36 plus 49. Okay, and then I'm going to come one more step as I add these together. 6 and 9 is 15 there, and that would be 85. So we have C squared equal to 85. 85 is not a perfect square. So that's where, everybody, you're going to turn in the back of the book to page 405, the table of squares and square roots. You're going to go down to 85. I'm looking there, and hopefully you are too, but it's on page 405 in the back of your book. You look at 85, you look it up, the answer is 9.220. All right, now, so I take the square root of both sides. Square root of C squared is C. The square root of 85 is 9.2. Now notice I wrote it as a tenth. That is because the directions told me to. Find the length of the hypotenuse to the nearest tenth of a meter. All right. So in this lesson, they're going to have you show where the hypotenuse is. They're going to have you solve some of these. Be great practice for you there. So hopefully you'll do good with this. Now, lesson 150 continues on. We're going to do some more with trigonometry later, but lesson 150 is where we're going to stop with this unit of material right now. In lesson 150, guys, we're doing the same exact thing, except we're not finding the hypotenuse. We know the hypotenuse. We're going to find the length of the missing leg. Okay? So let's look. It's a little different in how we solve the equation, but it's nothing that you can't handle. You're going to substitute everything in and then solve the equation. And I'll help you with it on a couple here. All right? So let's look at the first one. They tell us that the length of leg A is 3 centimeters. The length of leg B, we don't know. The length of the hypotenuse is 4. Okay? So now I'm going to plug in all. It's very important, knowing your legs, knowing your A and B, knowing what is your hypotenuse, what is C, so you plug things in correctly. So I take the same formula. 4 squared equals to 3 squared plus B squared. Now, my unknown is over here on the other side of the equation. And we'll fix that in just a second. The first thing we want to do, guys, is simplify what we can. All right? 4 squared is 16. 3 squared is 9. All right? 16 equals 9 plus B squared. All right? Now, we can now or later, we are allowed, remember, we learned this principle when we were doing equations, I can turn this equation around as long as I keep the same numbers and information on both sides of the equation. So it's going to help us, it's going to make more sense if I go ahead and write my equation to look like this. All I did was flip this over here and the 16 over there. That is a mathematical principle that I'm allowed to do, so I've done it. Now I need to get b on a side by itself. So we know the opposite operation. We're going to subtract 9 from both sides. That cancels out, leaves b squared. 16 minus 9 is 7. Now I'm going to find the square root of both sides. Square root of b squared is b. The square root of 7 is one of those I do not know. I look it up in the back of the book. The square root of 7 is 2.646. I'm going to round there to the nearest tenth. The answer is 2.6 centimeters. So B is 2.6. All right. Little different. Nothing you can't handle. And remember, a good thing about this, if you need to see me work that again, hey, just watch the video again. Look at the example problems again on your own. You can look over it as many times as you need to till you got it. All right, let's do the other one. There's another example there. Again, we're finding the length of a leg. In this one, the hypotenuse is 9. And B is 6, and we don't know the length of leg A. So again, I'm going to write that's a 9. 9 squared equals to A squared plus 6 squared. Okay? Filled everything in. I'm going to solve exactly the same way. Square, 81, equals to A squared plus 36. I'm going to flip it around. A squared plus 36 equals to 81. I'm going to subtract 36 from both sides there. That cancels out, leaving me A squared equals to 81 minus 36 there. That gives us 45. That is not a perfect square either. So I find the square root of both sides. A equals, I look it up in the back of the book, I round it to the nearest tenth. The answer, 6.7 inches. A is 6.7, okay? There is 2 examples of how to find the length of the leg when we know one leg and we know the hypotenuse, all right? Again, watch this over if you need to. We really need, this is important. These are things you're going to do in 8th grade, things you're going to do in high school. So you really need to get this down. It's very important lessons here over trigonometry. Send me a question through my schoolworks if you have a specific question that I can help you with one of the problems. I would be glad to. Remember, do the work, show your work. Your parents can check it over and let you correct, but they're not to do it for you. And you're not to use the calculator on any of this. These are all simple enough for you to do it in your head, okay? We've got a little bit more with trigonometry when we do our next unit, but for now, that's all you have to do. Lessons 145 to lesson 150, due by April 27th. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.